do it for you.
Baby, the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. If it come down to the floor is yours, let me show you how prove the floor is yours. 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 The floor is yours.
Now it's my turn.
Good evening, great people. Welcome to another episode of the Floor is Yours podcast. Y'all know the game. You know the name of the game. Like, share, follow. Let people know that we are on Facebook and YouTube. So that's good to know because people that's not on Facebook, send them over to our YouTube page so they can follow us. So, but before we move any further, I just got to always ask the guests, what do you think about the intro song?
It just make you want to move.
Okay.
Hey.
Oh.
You better smile or do something. You ain't gonna sit up here like that all night.
Hey, listen, I didn't know that you sung too. So without further ado, we want to introduce our special guest, Miss Carlika. We're going to let you take a moment.
I thought I was a special guest.
Man, you are, man. You special.
You just special. You just special.
You're a guest, man. But hey, Carlika, why don't you take a moment to introduce yourself, and I'll tell everybody to brag on yourself. Don't be so humble that, you know.
Not at all. I mean, thank you for the opportunity. So look, you all, my new name is C Money. So y'all go ahead and type that in the chat. C Money in the building with the professor and Flex, the producer. So I'm excited to be here. I'm the menopause navigator, supporting women to gain clarity, confidence, and consistency to walk boldly in their purpose. And don't be apologetic about anything, not your journey, not any tests or trials that you've been through, but showing up as yourself. And so look, that's just me in a nutshell. I've been in magazines from the UK to the US. Menopause and Mimosa is my baby, and that's what we're doing, bringing people together to talk about one word, menopause, right? So if I'm up here and I break out in a sweat, I did not just go run a 5K because your girl ain't a runner. Okay, she's a runner. She's a track star. Nope, not me. I'm just having a hot flash, okay? So look, I got my card if I need to.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get through it.
And I got my water. Okay.
You're a church fan.
Yes.
Hey, look, quick joke about menopause. You know, I was watching Sanford and Son. Everybody know me, know I'm a big Sanford and Son fan. So Fred said that he had caught menopause, and Lamont was like, "Pop, that's something that a woman catches." And Fred said, "Maybe I caught it from a woman." That's my joke for today.
Yeah, you just gonna mute your mic for the rest of the evening.
no fire.
Now, Professor, I agree. I'm gonna take your word on that. I'm gonna agree on that.
Hey man, maybe my delivery one.
Go watch. You just sit back and watch some Sanford and Son.
Hey, maybe my delivery one is good, but it's a funny joke on the show.
What they say?
But nonetheless, we are here to talk about an important topic: good old accountability. When you figure out, you know, a lot of things that plague our community, and what we talked about, Kalita, when we was conversing the other day, was that we said how the spirit of poverty, a covenant of complacency, and the expectation of failure plagues our community. And when you talked about it, I was like, man, that's genius. So I jotted it down, but I'm like, how can we work that into the discussion about accountability? So if you don't mind, just take a minute to talk about how accountability can help us in those areas.
Gerard, I didn't come up here for all of that, okay? I do mine. Y'all, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So when we think of even the word accountability, right? And so even the spirit of poverty, right? Are you accountable with your finances? Are you accountable to making a budget? Or are you being accountable and then you want people to bail you out because you're always messing up your money, right? Or then is that a spirit over your whole entire family? Is everyone always struggling? Is everyone from generation to generation, no one stopped getting food stamps? Y'all don't inbox me about no food stamps and stuff, because at one point I got them, right? And if you, I ain't even gonna say what I was gonna say. It's all good. But what I'm saying is, if everyone it's always, and no one is breaking that generational curse to say, you know what, we're going to break this here, or we're going to strive to do better, or we always going to be on the struggle bus. And so then when you think of covenant means like relationship. What is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with other people? How is your relationship, meaning with your mindset, even when it comes to accountability purposes? Do you really want people to hold you accountable, or do you just want to vent? Do you want people to really hold you accountable and be like, hey, you said you was going to do A, B, and C by this date and by this time, and you didn't show up? Or are you going to get an attitude when they telling you about yourself? Right. And so we find that a lot of times people really don't want a real accountability. They just want people in a corner to be like, you got this and it's going to be okay. No, doing the same thing over and over and getting the same results. Y'all, it's not okay.
It's not. It is not. And I agree with all you said. I don't know if the professor does or not, but I'll let him, chime in and tell us why the need for an accountability partner.
Hey, brother, you just said we won't use the word I agree.
That was me, not you.
I mean, I agree with all that you said. I mean, it's good stuff. And accountability partner for me is just that support. And I mean, that support could look like many things, but it's definitely has to support. And that role model of hopefully someone that has achieved something and someone you aspire to be like. So, but that support and that role model and that's that example of what right looks like or what you want to look like in the future. I think those things are beneficial and motivating and encouraging as far as pushing you to continue to achieve what you desire.
Or what you don't want to look like, right?
That's good. You're right.
Because there's some people, I don't want to look. They taught me well what not to do.
I think she froze up. Okay.
Right. Of what not to do, right?
Up a little bit. Yeah. Hey, Kalika, your sound is off a little bit, but I think you're good. So while we let the sound catch up with your mouth, because it's moving, it's not in sync right now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're good. There we go.
Okay.
So, Professor, in your book that you wrote, and we'll get into your book later on, but one thing that you talked about is self-accountability or self-reflection. So how important is that self-accountability when you're out looking for an accountability partner?
Well, there's actually two chapters in that I think that apply. So one is accountability and one is mentorship. So, I mean, just like I stated, I think being accountable, I mean, I think it starts with self first. You have to understand what you want to do. You got to understand what it takes to get there. So you have to be real with yourself, honest with yourself, and say, hey, what is the recipe for my success? And I mean, understanding the recipe for your success and understand that someone that's maybe have followed that script and that recipe, I mean, it could be very supportive, very encouraging as far as you sticking to your script and I guess getting to that end, that desired end state. But it's very important. I mean, even if it's not a role model, I mean, just having that support group, someone to support and encourage you when times get tough. And those old habits, those bad habits are kind of hard to replace with better habits. It's very beneficial.
Yeah. And Kalika, would you agree that you need to have some self-accountability first before you try to bring somebody else in to try to hold you accountable?
I think everything starts with ourselves, right? Like no one can do the work for us and no one can do the work for those who are listening. So that self-part, self-esteem, self-love, self-care, taking action. So I think if we take action ourselves, then we will draw in even the other people that we may need, because sometimes people get hooked up with the wrong accountability partners and they're really not holding you accountable. Once again, they're either yes men or they're not even pouring into you to see you go to that next level in your life. And so I think everything starts with yourself, because at the end of the day, no one can do the work but you. I don't care how many accountability partners you have, how many coaches, how many conferences you went to, how many phone calls. It really doesn't matter. You have to be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to hold myself accountable to get this done. But I love what the professor said, having other people to support the vision, right? Having other people to support and push you, because you're going to have those days that you like, yo, bruh, sis, I don't feel like doing nothing. They like, no, you got a deadline, right? And so everything starts with ourselves.
That's good, because I saw this thing on Facebook and it says, you'll learn me. I quote a lot, but it says that I need to be disciplined because sometimes I'm not motivated. And you just made me think about that. Some days you wake up and you're not. But to your point, it don't matter
That
if
was my post, man.
That was yours. I thought it sounded familiar, man. But to that point, though, it don't matter. You gotta have the best motivators around you. But if you ain't bought in yourself, it's all be for naught, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because motivation is good, but motivation is not enough.
Yeah.
Right. It's like with working out. Tidbit, I'm not like a workout lover. Okay. I had to challenge myself. And so you see people like, I'm gonna challenge myself for 30 days. I knew your girl wasn't getting ready to fulfill no 30 days. Okay. So I put myself on a 10-day challenge initially. And then once I completed the first 10, then I added another 10. And about time I finished it all, then we was up to 30, 40, 60 days. And now I'm more consistent in that area. And I use that because everyone at the beginning of the year be like, oh, I'm losing weight. And now the summer coming, oh, I'm getting my summer body. All of these different things, right? Instead of making those lifestyle changes and those habits that you can carry on forever, ever, ever, and ever.
That's good. That's good. You got me thinking at the same time you're talking about that is if I'm trying to get fit, more physically fit, healthy, and I go get somebody as an accountability partner that's not their strength or their forte, I think it's going to be, again, all for naught. So when you're aligning with people, whether you look at it as a mentor or accountability partner, if that's not their strength, I think you're wasting your time. That's why.
Yeah, and you just can't wait on people because what if they never show up, right? Then who you gonna blame it on? Well, they didn't meet me at the gym. Meet yourself at the gym. Have an appointment with yourself, right?
Yeah. But they ain't your accountability partner if they ain't showing up then, right? But that's their self-accountability, though, to your point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Professor, you got anything on that? I know you're the big fitness guy, and people don't know he's getting ready to compete in bodybuilding contest. That's why he got that big sweatshirt on. He don't want y'all to see his triceps and glutes. And wait, the glutes ain't under the shirt, is it? We're close, but
Yeah, they under the shirt. But like C Money said, that's self-accountability and changing what you believe. And just for me, it's like, what's the alternative? So if I'm not pushing myself to chase my change, what's the alternative? To stay where I'm at? I guess that goes back to that spirit of complacency. It's like I'd rather chase my dreams than stick with the alternative because I'm familiar with the alternative. The alternative is nothing new. It's a space I've been living in for whoever knows how long, and I desire to push into a new space. So that's where my accountability begins, and I seek those that desire the same end: change, growth, and just getting out of that comfort zone.
Yeah. So
I love that. I love what the professor just said. The alternative ain't new, right? And how many times do people we revert back to the old habits when things get a little hard, when we feel people don't show up, or we feel we don't have support. But I even think when people say they don't have support, it's not that you don't have support. It's the people that you're looking for the support from that you have an expectation. Mm-hmm. And when they don't come through, now you're like, I don't have support. And it's such a big, big world out here, right? I don't know about y'all, but do some of your biggest, some people that you've probably never met, they go hard for your brand or they go hard for what you're doing. And it's some of the people that's closest to you, I
experienced that. They tell you if you need something, let me know. And then when it come time, it was like, oh, they didn't see it. They were like, hey, how you saw everything before, but now when it's time. But hey, that's another story.
Because Facebook algorithms change. That's always their excuse, okay?
So Tamika, appreciate the comments. Make sure y'all keep them coming. We'll make sure we get to them as much as possible. Tamika says accountability matters for any kind of forward movement or success. And you're right, whether that accountability is through self or through a support team that's, encouraging you, pushing you along. I absolutely agree with that. Anyone of you want to comment on that before we go to another comment?
Yeah, to C Money.
Okay, so hey, Pastor Meek. Accountability matters for any kind of forward movement or success. So yeah, I think we can do things individually. When you have that support pushing you and different things. So in those moments where you may be having a rough time, in those moments where you're not feeling, you may not even have enough clarity, right? In that moment where, and I think back in the day, right, we used to always hear people say the village, right? y'all, we still got to have that same mindset of the village. And when you have people pushing for you, when you feel weak, when you feel down, or you're going through something, you got some other people that's stronger right now that can lift you up, uphold you, and then help you maneuver to that next place in your life. So we need each other to go to that next place in our life. You need the right people. Let me say that.
Yeah. And I just said, as far as accountability being, I guess, moving forward to our success. So I guess it's just, to me, it's like checking the box. So you get that recipe, you understand what it takes, that roadmap to get to where you want to go. And it's just a matter of checking those boxes. And if you don't check those boxes, nothing's going to change. And just for me personally, I have a little calendar. I have a big calendar, as a matter of fact, that I sit on my countertop. And I have several letters that I put on there each and every day. Those letters mean something different. But those letters represent my checking the box. So like, hey, today I took one small step to where I want to be. So just me personally, I check those boxes, and if you check those boxes, chances are something's going to change. But if you're not checking those boxes, you can't expect anything to change.
That's good. It sounds like what you're saying also is that accountability is intentional. So you have to actually, a lot of times we come up with these ideas and never put them in place. So if I'm listening to what you're saying, Professor, this calendar, like, you're intentional every day, even if you don't feel like it, you're writing the letters down and then following through to make sure that you're accountable to self.
Yeah, you have to be intentional, because the bad habits, comfort zone, that's easy to do. That's something that you already understand. That's something you already learned. To learn to do a new thing, you have to be intentional about doing something new. And that being intentional is where the challenge actually lies, because we like to be comfortable. We like to be in our comfort zone. We don't like to do anything new. So that intentional part is where the rubber meets the road. And that's when the accountability partner and everything else comes to play.
That's good, Professor. Like, I love being intentional. And I think a lot of times we look at the whole year, right? And people make all these goals for the year, not realizing that in order to accomplish the goals that you have for the year, every day, you have to be doing something. So early, like you said, having a map, how are you going to get to the goal, right? You're going to take it from your mind to a piece of paper. And how many of us have like 1,001 journals? That's a little probably exaggerated, but over the time, and you're writing the same goals down over and over again, and you have accomplished nothing on them. We can even use from January up into now. If we take a moment to reflect, everything that you said that you were going to do, even just for January, we're not even going to talk about the whole month. What about the first week?
Yeah.
And what did we do? So I love that. And that's how I do day by day. I'm writing stuff down, and then I have a checklist like, okay, I got this done, got that done. And first of all, it keeps me on track.
So how much of your goals and the stuff you've been intentional about, how much of that do you share with, say, because both you're in relationships, how much of that do you share with your mates, and do you expect them to help push you in those areas?
Okay, so we're in a better space, so I can share things now, right? Y'all, I'm just going to be real transparent. So most recently, like, I had literally called a divorce lawyer, okay? So when you get into a space, yes.
When ready.
And yeah, look, it might be someone out here, right? Yeah. But one, I'm obedient to God, to whatever he says, right? But when it comes to that, it's not a problem with sharing. But even when you're sharing things, it can be with a significant other, spouse, or whatever that looks like, right? Sometimes people are not in the same mindset as you. And that's okay. So some things sometimes you may not be able to share until an appointed time, because we have seen in various relationships, some people get jealous of other people. Some people don't know how to celebrate one another, or then you start kind of dimming your light some and not sharing because you don't want to make someone feel uncomfortable for your success, not realizing that if you saw the journey from the beginning and in between and in the middle and all the challenges and all the hell and all the different things that people endure, then, so I'll say simply, you can, but sometimes the timing, I believe timing is everything. So now I'm in a space where I feel that we can receive on both ends when you haven't shut down, right? And you're allowing someone to come in your space to feel comfortable, even sharing that, you know, there it's going to be appreciated, it's going to be celebrated. And for me, even if it's not, guess what? It don't stop nothing. Your girl going to keep going.
The professor.
Yeah, I agree. I like timing. So timing is a lesson I've learned here. I guess not too long ago, but I definitely agree with timing. I can appreciate the timing. But for me, it's understanding. So I share everything. So just so my partner understands that, hey, I'm doing this, and because I'm doing this, then that means potentially I'm not doing that. So she understands where I'm at and what I'm trying to achieve, and she supports it. So for the most part, I share every goal. There's no my goals aren't no big secret. They're all on my wall. So I actually have big letters on my wall that spells out everything I'm trying to achieve. So, and she totally understands that, and I trust her. And I tell her about my struggles and my challenges with me trying to meet my goals, and she will keep me on track as best she can to say, "Hey, you said you need to do this," and if nothing else, each and every morning when I wake up, that reminder is right there on my wall. So, but I tell everything to try to facilitate understanding between the two of us.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Got coming here from Tamika. She says, that's great. I think she was talking about me, but just in case I read the rest of it. They're smaller goals so that that's easier to implement.
Hey, mute him right now.
It's such as a lofty goal. So I like that. So you want it to be challenging, but I think if you break it down into smaller, like if it's a big goal, what do you have to achieve in the small sense to reach that goal? I think that's what she's saying. If I'm wrong, Tamika, let us know, but I'll let y'all respond on that as well.
Yeah, I believe, but I'll interpret my way like, I'll use myself even with the working out. I can use myself with even marriage and different things. To me, principles don't change, right? Principles are foundational. And so the principles of doing the work to achieve my health goals, right? I use that same energy to work on my marriage and different things, right? And so whether that's better communication, showing up, discipline, watching my smart mouth, all of the things, right? So it's not just one thing, but you can have one ultimate goal, but then you break that down in smaller segments because you're not going to accomplish the whole big goal in one day.
Yeah, I want to guess if you got a smart mouth, but I'm gonna punt to the professor and let him.
Look, God is working on me with the slick lip, okay?
Yeah, you want the smaller pieces. So I mean, I agree with the smaller pieces, and like C Money said, you're not going to achieve a goal tonight. So I mean, just for me and my own personal goal is to get to 6% body fat. So I started off at 12%, and there was no way I was going to just wake up the next day after one workout and be at 12%. So I like to call them smaller goals, but I understand smaller goals. I prefer to call them milestones. So I say, hey, at this milestone, I want to be at 11%. So maybe the next 30 days, next 60 days, my first milestone is 11%, and that milestone leads me towards achieving my goal in 6 to 8 months in the future when it's time to actually get on stage to compete. So I believe in the smaller segments. I believe in celebrating the smaller segments, but for me, those smaller segments, I call those smaller segments milestones.
I love that. Professor, look, you're going to have to share some tips on this, getting this body fat down, though.
Yeah, give us one right now.
I think I froze.
Oh, okay. The devil is a lie.
The secrets, man. Come on, bro. Give us one secret right now. One consideration when you're trying to get body fat down.
I mean, you definitely got to watch what you eat. And the age-old, I mean, you have to burn fat from both sides. One, what you're consuming, and two, with doing a lot of weightlifting. So actually building the muscle and having the muscle push underneath the fat, and at the same time doing enough cardio to burn the fat. But your nutrition has to be on point as far as how much fat, carbohydrates, and all that stuff you consume. If not, you may throw your ratio off.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, and definitely a lot of sleep. A lot of nutrition.
I like that you said that what you eat first. I remember reading once before that's like 70 or 80% of it. It's what you eat, and you ain't gotta beat yourself down.
That's why I call it diet and exercise. The diet is like being a student athlete. You're a student, then you're an athlete. Diet and exercise, you diet first, and then you exercise. Without the first piece, the second piece is almost irrelevant.
Kind of like black men. I'm a black first. No, all right.
We done. Professor, we're not muting him. We about to kick him out. Okay. We are done with Flex, the producer for tonight. Y'all, the show is over.
Hey man,
somebody got a tomato. Is somebody in that house? Can somebody throw a tomato? Somebody just hit you with tomato like right down. That'd be perfect timing.
Perfect timing.
Hey, so before we go to the commercial break, we got one more topic I think is a heavy one. I want to make sure we give enough time to address. But it says that if you pick an accountability partner, they're not there to fill a void of self-confidence. So if you lacking confidence in some area, I think accountability partner can assist, but they're not there to fill the void of self-confidence. What do y'all think about that?
Well,
yeah, out them both. Y'all see that? I'll talk about my jokes again.
I mean, they was bad. We gonna keep talking about it. We not gonna keep talking about it because we don't even remember. Okay, like they out of mind. I think once again, it just boils down to that we have to do the work. So even if you don't have, it's like telling a woman, or telling a woman that you're beautiful, but she doesn't see it. So it's not going to matter how many times you tell her and affirm her and letting her know, right? Until she see it for herself, or it's even telling a male, I appreciate you, or you're doing a good job. But if you can't receive it, you can't accept it, right? And so it's not going to matter. And not that you should stop saying those things, but until they change their mindset on it, I feel like it ain't not that much I can do for your confidence till you believe in yourself.
Yeah, well, that's good, Professor. I'm sure you agree. And I'm thinking about a lot of people that seek validation. And a lot of that is tied to a lack of confidence or belonging or whatever. And I don't think that anything is necessarily wrong with validation, but I think if you need that, what happens when that validation is not there? So I think self-confidence is super important, and to bring somebody in to think that they're gonna, as an accountability partner, that they can motivate you when you lack confidence in the area, I think is a setup for failure.
Yeah, and I can speak to that. I have some experience in different arenas in life, from dating to leadership. But we won't talk about dating. We talk about leadership on this show. But so I would say a mentee. So being in a leadership position most of my military career, I had a mentee, and they really wanted to. I mean, they really looked up to me as a role model, and I would say a good accountability, a good mentor would point that out. So if you feel like your mentee or whoever is lacking confidence, and that's exactly what I told them. I'm like, look, you have to become more confident in yourself. You can't stand up in front of nobody if you can't first stand up in the mirror and believe in yourself. And I challenge them with that each and every day. Like, do you believe? And it's like, if you don't, what is stopping you? What is your roadblock? What is this obstacle in your way that's preventing you from being confident, believing yourself in this arena? And I'm like, hey, sometimes we have to be an imposter. So when you first start something new, it's gonna feel like an imposter, and you will be an imposter, because if nothing else, I can call you an imposter because I see it and I know you. But over at some time, hold on one second. With time, it will become more genuine, and it will become who you are. But you have to practice being an imposter until this thing become who you are. But you got to look in yourself in the mirror and ask yourself and convince yourself that you believe and you have the ability to do this, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I think a good accountability partner, a good mentor will point it out, like, hey, what you're lacking is confidence in yourself. And I can't give you that.
Right.
Yeah. And I know you said you don't want to go into a relationship piece, but I want to talk about that, if you mind. I know I've talked to couples.
He said he mind.
Nosy. It's all right. I'm the producer. I call the shots and make bad jokes. But
so I call yourself Flex the Nosy.
Flex know it all. Bad jokes.
Money. Not too much on me.
So you set yourself up for that, though.
But I know I've talked to people, and I'll be honest and transparent. I've dealt with a lack of confidence in a past relationship, to where at the point where I let someone make me feel that I wasn't enough. And all the counseling and therapy in the world that I was going to see when I was trying to get, relationship therapy. They didn't address that piece. So it was all for nothing. And it was like, man, okay, you tell me what I need to go back and do, but I don't even feel like I'm good enough in this space. So that's why when I created that question, that's what I had in mind. Not that it don't fit in the business sense or in a professional sense, but in a relationship, if you don't have confidence, man, and especially if you're in a toxic relationship, that person's going to eat you alive.
But I love what you said, Flex, where when we think of relationships, though, it's not always a significant other. It is business-ships, it is friendships, it's relationships with your children, and different things. And so a lot of times we have to ask ourselves, why do I have this low confidence or low self-esteem? Why do I feel like I'm being attacked? Or why? And then someone said, it spills over into everything, right? And so how we show up in one area or how we do one thing. I heard a quote, Professor, is this your quote too? How you do anything is how you do everything, right?
That sounds familiar.
Right. So when we think of even relationships, business relationships can be toxic, right? Relationships at home, but this the same way, you go to your place of employment, they always used to say in the onboarding, like, leave your problems on the outside. What? Right. Whatever you're going through at home or anywhere, you're carrying that. So I'll use myself. When I'm having a hot flash, I don't get to tell menopause to stay in the car and I'm going to pick you up at 6 p.m. as if it's childcare. Right? I don't get to choose when a hot flash may occur. I don't even know when it's going to occur, right? It's just like, voila, here it is. And so when we even think of those relationships, whether it's toxic, whether they're good, I think we have to, ask ourselves why, and then ask ourselves why again, right? And I do that exercise quite often, even in my own life. Okay, why did I respond that way? And then once I get that answer, let me ask myself why again. And so that I can get to the root cause of whatever may be internally bothering me.
That's good. That's good. I was thinking too, as the professor was talking about the imposter, I want to make sure that people are careful not to, like, you can overdo it. And I'm thinking about the whole mindset of what vanity is. And I've seen where people are so vain that they're really covering insecurities. So I think, Professor, I can speak for you when you're saying you don't want to go that far, where you're trying to be confident and walk, boldly. But some people can be so vain that they're trying to cover the insecurities that they have.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, hopefully, what are you chasing after as far as trying to be more confident is a little more, something more of substance. So it's not a worldly matter or something that you're chasing after. So hopefully it's a godly or some kind of spiritual result instead of trying to have an image and trying to please someone or to look a certain way to be perceived by the world. So
that's good. That's good.
But when it comes to the relationship piece, I mean, that piece is a whole different, and having confidence, that's a lot to unpack. So I think expectations plays a part in it. So we all have expectations of who we want to be, and of course, your partner have an expectation of what they want to receive and who they think you are. And sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So being married and no kids is one thing. Being married and having kids, totally different situation. So it's like I don't know nothing about raising no kids. Didn't know anything about raising kids. Hey, we all learn on the fly. But at the same time, hopefully, at the end of the day, the intentions between the two are good, and the intentions is that hey, we're in this together. We're gonna learn, grow together, and everything else. And I think intentions play a big role in it too. Like, what is your intentions?
I love that, like people motives, right? The motives, and then understanding that we all should be evolving, right? We should all be growing. And even in marriage, relationships, that's with your kids, or anything, and y'all, when we say growing, we ain't talking about stuff being perfect, right? It's not about stuff being perfect, but it's acknowledging and recognizing that, hey, look, this is a problem for me. I can have a open conversation about it. And then let's come together as a unit to see how can I serve and support you. And I think even sometimes in the home, even as believers, sometimes people miss that servitude and that servant of service, even right sometimes in the home, where sometimes we take things for granted. So I would definitely say check your motives, check your mind, and check your mouth.
So you just take a pause and ask yourself, what are my intentions? Hopefully, it should reflect something. It should say something about you and bring something to your mind and your thought process, and maybe you change and do something different. But I think more than not, we just don't take that pause to say, hey, what am I really intending to do? What are my real intentions and motives in this situation?
Yeah. And for the mate, at some level, your mate is an accountability partner, I think, wholeheartedly, right?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I said, I called the divorce lawyer. I'm still married, okay? Still married because we made a decision to do the work, right? We recognized where both of us had just given up, and though we were going after dreams and different things, but when you don't keep God at the forefront and in the center of everything, there comes division, right? Even when you're doing the good things, right? It wasn't that neither of us were doing the bad things, but you still wasn't coming together as a unit to say, look, I'm pouring into you, you're pouring into me. It was just like, and then when you, right? Back to the self-accountability. When you, and sometimes some things are not even done intentionally, right? Even in the good things, some things, even though you might be doing something good. So me working on my business, in my business and doing things, it's not a bad thing. But if I can do 8 hours where my husband was like, I just felt like I didn't matter anymore. So me being open and honest, you're absolutely correct. I can definitely see that, right? I can see where I had engulfed that in, but then I had to ask myself why, right? I had to ask myself why. And so I love intentions and motives. And sometimes, and even if it wasn't intentional, right? We're never have so much pride that you can't go and ask for forgiveness. Never have so much ego that you can't even repent to your children, right? Because sometimes it's not a bad thing that was said, but it's how we perceived it, or our perception, or how we heard it, even at that time and at that place and moment in our life. And so we don't know how people are processing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes when I'm thinking I'm joking about something, it really was not a joke, right, to him or whatever. And so I'm like, oh, so once again, that's coming down to communication, and that's in relationships across the board.
That's good. And I'm thinking about intentions. Someone can have the best intentions, but it's really how that person receives it. And sometimes intentions don't matter. The results can be the same, whether it's intentional or unintentional. If it's something that was bad, it's going to hurt the same. So with that being said, let's take a commercial break. We're going to come back on the other side. There's a couple more topics before we wrap up the subject. So
keep jokes at home. Drop your jokes off.
Your success ain't gonna happen overnight. It may take a year. It may take 2 years. It may even take 10 years. For some people, it might take even longer than that. But one thing I do know, as long as you keep fighting and staying consistent, you will make it. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you gonna make it?
Creed. Step in that water, step in that water, step in that water. Yeah. You gotta be willing to go out and get it. You gotta dive in it, go and get it. Step in that water, step in that water, step in that water. Yeah.
All right, welcome back to the second part of the show.
I never really listened to that song. We need to steal that as the podcast song.
Hey man, we got a song that's dope already, man. So we're gonna stick with what we got. Hey, Professor, this your second show back, man. You causing havoc already, man. So
you need to step in that water, man.
Step in the water. All right. So again, for y'all that just coming in, we're talking about how accountability affects us in our community and how it can better our situation. So again, keep the comments coming and we'll get to it, as many of them as possible. But I want to take a step back and talk about when you're trying to establish accountability, especially with somebody else. What are some considerations you need to take into account when you're trying to choose an accountability partner? And I'll let y'all pick one or two each.
Okay, so when you're picking your accountability partner, I think number one, alignment, your values, your morals, your principles, things that you believe, and then having someone who's going to be open and honest with communication.
That's good. I like that. Professor?
I hope to say, I guess understanding. I don't know if understanding and alignment is kind of one and the same, but understanding, you both understanding what you're trying to achieve, and they understand what you're trying to achieve, and there's an understanding as far as what they need from you as an accountability partner. Like, what does accountability actually look like? So it's like, I'm gonna be your accountability partner, but I need to understand, what does this look like for you? How am I effective? How do I get you to change? How do I get you to where you want to be? So I think that understanding is a big piece. And someone, like I said, someone that's gonna be honest with you, someone that's strong enough to tell you the truth. So even when the truth hurts, someone that's there to hold you accountable and to be open and honest with you.
Okay.
That's good. I want to hit this what I had on the page about excuses versus reasons, which is super important, not just with yourself, but especially when you're with someone that's trying to hold you accountable. I think it's important to talk about the challenges, but I've been around where people are like, hey, that's an excuse. That's an excuse. And sometimes it can be, but sometimes it's a real barrier that you need to try to figure out how to overcome, if it can even be, if you can actually overcome it. So what are your ideas or thoughts about excuses versus reasons?
Okay, so an excuse for me would be, I didn't go walking today because I was just tired, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when discipline comes into place. A reason would be, my foot is broke, right? So I need to find an alternative of doing something. I can still do something, but if my foot is broke, right, then maybe I'm not going to go, of course, walking or anything, but maybe I'm going to do some upper body or something like that. So finding an alternative. And like you said, some reasons, I do believe some reasons are valid, right? You can't tell me, well, you should have went out there and ran today with your broke foot. Okay, was you going to carry me? I mean, like, what was we going to do? So, but then I think we have to really analyze, am I making an excuse, or is this a valid reason? Because if we really boil some things down, we come up with a world of excuses of why we didn't get this accomplished by the end of the week, or why we didn't do this today. And then we keep putting it off. And if you keep putting the same thing off every single week, every single day, every single month, every single year, like since 2020, and we still blaming it on the pandemic, like, let's just stop.
That's real. Professor?
Yeah, so I agree with C Money says. So I think there's a season, for me personally, I think there's a season for excuses. So, I mean, especially when something is new, you're trying to change something. I think there's a season, that beginning part, the early part of it is a season for excuses. So, but the trick is to reduce those number of excuses. So like I said, when I have my big calendar, and it's like, hey, not every day, I'm not putting that all letters on there every day. But at the end of the day, I've done better than what I did last week. I've done better last month than I did. I did better this month than I did last month. So I don't think you get around excuses. I think we just have to learn to reduce those excuses. And after a certain season, I don't know how long it could vary based on what your goal is. But hey, right. After 1 month, hey, that should no longer be an excuse. Hey, after 2 months, but definitely, I think for any goal, after 1 year, you shouldn't be having those same excuses. But I think there's a season for excuses. I give leniency for a season of excuses. My expectation was, hey, you improve. Like one day you did 1 push-up. Now you do 2 push-ups. Now you can do 3 push-ups. But have we reduced our number of excuses over a certain course of time?
Or have we made certain things just part of our lifestyle, right? So people hold their unforgiveness, or people like, I can't tell someone what your time frame of healing should be, but at what point are you going to do something different to get a different result? So I love the analogy with 1 push-up, 2 push-ups, and then, sometimes we have to push ourselves out of our comfort zone. And like we said earlier, human nature don't like to be pushed out of our comfort zone, right? We like to stay snuggled up, and some of us like to stay snuggled up in our trauma, right? So then we make excuses of why we choose not to heal, right? Because it is a choice. And so, yeah, I love that. I'm gonna do
Yeah, those bad habits weren't ingrained overnight. We just didn't pay attention to them. It's just something we just did every day, every day, every day, every day. And before you know it, but you pay attention to it, it's like, hey, why do I do this? But
Yeah.
it didn't just happen overnight. So you just wasn't intentional about changing it, letting it allow it to kind of manifest. But
Yeah.
to change it, you have to be a lot more intentional about getting beyond it and doing something different.
That's good, man. I remember Kalia and I talked about being realistic. And as I think about what you're saying, Professor, well, especially like if it's something physical, like a push-up, you can think you about to jump down there and do 20, but and if it's hurting, hey, maybe you should stop because you could do more harm by keep trying to push and go instead of just realizing like, hey, and whether you call it an excuse or a reason, I think sometimes it'd be semantics, but just being realistic and having that grace, I guess, is important.
I think you gotta build some things you gotta build up to,
Yeah.
right? You gotta lay the foundation and then you have to show up and be consistent, right? You gotta build up to the things. So I ain't gonna go out here and lift like 150 pounds a day. I already know that I'm not there yet. So I can't look at, a lot of times we look at other people and where they are. And where they are, they've been training or they've been doing this for a minute, and not that they may have days that they like, oh man, they have to push themselves, right? Or they have their mentors or accountability partners and say, okay, man, you got it, girl, you got it, whatever the case may be, but not overexerting ourselves. I do a topic where it says, love yourself to health and not to death, right? Meaning, even in the good things, we still have to set boundaries, right? Even in our relationships, you still have to set boundaries. Even in your business ships, you still have to set boundaries. Even with ourselves, we still have to set some boundaries. When it comes to social media, right? We can't thumb scroll all day. You got to set some boundaries.
Yeah, good. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's all how you spend things too, because as accountability partner, mentorship, whatever the case may be, if someone came to me and say, I'm not going to lift 150 pounds right now, I would say, okay, in which manner? So it's like, no, can you just lift a straight 150 pounds? Maybe not, but can we get you to lift 150 pounds a day? Yeah, we can. So you can lift 10 pounds 15 times, and now I got you to 150 pounds. It's not all 150 pounds, but like, hey, let's start with this type of 150 to get you to the other type of 150. So there's always different ways to kind of meet the same objective.
Yeah, to reach the goal. I love that.
Yeah, we got a couple more comments we want to get to. Isha says accountability is a strength. People see accountability as a bad thing, as if you're wrong when you acknowledge your weakness. Totally agree with that one.
That's good.
Yeah, we got another one from Facebook user. I don't know the name here, but it says, I have a valid excuse for not meeting goals, but because people cannot see it, which it has to do with my brain, they tend to be very upset with me, not knowing it's the brain. So you're right. A lot of people don't know what you got going on internally. I'm just thinking about accountability partner, what we talked about. If you bring somebody on, you got to be transparent, and not just transparent, but forthcoming as well. Sometimes people are going to only ask questions based off their understanding of what you got going on. So that person that's needing that accountability partner is going to have to be forthcoming as well.
But I think this comment here really goes back to even what the professor just said, even about the weights, right? What other way? It's like with our GPS, right? You put something in your GPS to get where you're going. And even if it takes you a different route because it's shorter, or it takes you a different route because there's an accident or the traffic is backed up, right? You're still going to get to the destination. Now you might get there 5 minutes earlier, or maybe even 10 minutes later, right? But at the end of the day, you're still going to get there. So we have to find ways where one person may be able to do a regular push-up, right? I don't know the other name for the other one. I guess the female push-ups. I don't know, right? Right. So even with those, at the end of the day, there's always ways to make modifications to still reach the same goal in mind. It's just about not giving up, and then using the tools, right? Using the tools and strategies to reach the same goal.
Or even altering your goals, right? Sometimes you get in there and be like, you know what, that might have been a little too lofty, or my some limitation keep me from reaching it. It's okay, I think, to reevaluate what your goals are.
And I think
Yeah,
that comes to being
realistic.
honest with yourself, right?
Yeah, be realistic about your goals.
Yeah.
Right. It's like if you say, I'm gonna make $5 million this year, right? No one is saying it's not impossible. Yes, Professor. Go ahead, make that 5 mil.
Yeah, thank you.
Amen.
Speak it.
You receive it, amen, in Jesus' name. Okay. Right. But it's not that it's impossible, but then you still have to have a game plan. Because the 5 mil ain't finna fall out the sky, out the heavens, or wherever. I don't care how many times you run around the church, fall on the floor, do all of those things, right? All the church things. It's not gonna just fall out the sky.
Right.
We have to have a plan, and Holy Spirit gives us a plan, but then we have to be willing to listen. We have to be willing to obey. We have to be willing to implement and be willing to take action, and be willing to get chastised sometimes too. Like, okay, you need to rest. You need to do this. So it's not just one thing that we're doing to achieve the goal. We're working on our mindset. The Bible says to renew your mind like every day. But most people don't even renew it every week, right? We just keep compiling everything going in, and then we like, oh my God, I'm stressed, I'm depressed, I'm frustrated, all of the things. And then some of us not sleeping enough, right?
Yeah. Especially, yeah. And I think also you talking about that renew your mind piece, again, making millions is possible. But I think about, most of us are not going to make millions from a 9 to 5. And I think about the people who are making millions, like whether they're athletes or entertainers, they're doing something special to get that. So I see people saying, they want a meal, and I ask them, like, what are you doing? I look at LeBron, and he's a billionaire. That dude, man, he's used his talent, and then he's surrounded himself around smart people to help him manage his money and, build out these processes for these plans that he had for schools and all kinds of other things. So, back to being realistic about them, not that you can't do it, but what are you doing realistically to achieve?
But even when we look at LeBron, it's like he didn't do it overnight, right?
Right.
He didn't do it overnight, but he didn't stop either. So a lot of times people stop when it get hard, or we stop when we don't see the manifestation of something. And maybe you're not mature for that particular part of that manifestation yet in your life. And so you can't receive it right now, right? But that doesn't mean I stopped working towards the goal, even though it didn't come last month or this year. But if I keep going, and like you said, surrounding yourself with other people, surrounding yourself with people that know more than you know, right? Surrounding yourself with people who are 50 steps ahead of you, putting yourself in rooms to receive this information and have these conversations with people that don't mind pouring into you. And y'all, sometimes, yes, we have to invest for these things, but you're worth the investment if depending where you want to go.
Yeah, that's good. I got one more I want to hit before we wrap up the show. And this one is when you pick an accountability partner, the idea that you're supposed to hold them accountable to. And that's not going to always be the case. Would y'all agree?
Run that back one more time.
Yeah, give me an example.
Accountability partner.
I'm too busy waiting for this 5 mil to fall out the sky.
It's coming, man. Just don't forget us, man. Just don't forget me and C Money.
Who?
You're like, I already forgotten.
If I'm picking an accountability partner, it's not necessarily true that I'm supposed to keep them accountable too. And the reason why I bring that up, because I've been there where people are saying you're a hypocrite or because you're not doing what you're telling me to do. And I'm thinking about the professor and him in this health area. You might not have to get up and run 5 miles, every day to achieve your goal, but this other person who's getting started or whatnot, and they look at you and like, man, you ain't running 5 miles. Why are you trying to make me run 5 miles and think you're a hypocrite? And that's just one example. There's a plethora of them, but now they're trying to necessarily think like, hey, you're not holding yourself accountable. I'm holding you accountable. And that's not necessarily what that relationship is supposed to be built on.
Yeah, for me, if you have accountability partner and the person that's you hold accountable is coming with you, that they're not ready to be accountable. They're not ready to be accountable for. So they're too busy keeping their eyes on what you're doing instead of focusing on what they need to be doing to kind of reach their end state. So that's just my opinion. That's my viewpoint. So if someone challenged me in what I was doing, and they asked me to be their accountability partner, I'm like, look, you're not ready because you too focus on everything else. You're not really focusing on yourself.
Right. I love that because if you're looking at where I am now, but I could show you pictures of something or tell you my story of where I was. It's a journey for where I am now. And so we're at different phases and places. Even when we think of things in the Word of God, the Bible says from glory to glory, faith to faith, right? Meaning it's different levels. Everyone's faith level ain't the same. So what I might be able to believe for, like I'm believing with the professor, he gonna get his 5 mil, right? But I got that like kind of, I don't see why not, right? Why he should, right?
Rain on me.
What?
Rain on me.
Man, I didn't know you could sing too. So next year we'll do a duet with you too. So until then, no more singing, please.
He's just mad.
I know. He's trying to bounce back from them jokes. Yeah.
No, man. But that wasn't a joke. That was real. Please don't sing. Hey, we got to comment right.
When I get that 5 mil, don't say nothing.
Man, listen, I was just playing, man. Please. You on my mic?
Hey. Drop the mic.
Right. So say right. That is what has happened. I've had to reevaluate everything, rest, eat better, and ask for and accept help. These small steps have been life-changing.
Congratulations. We celebrate you because that's huge. That's being transparent and recognizing that y'all, it's okay to ask for help, right? Like you're not too macho. We not too, put your pride down, ask for some help because it's going to help you in the long run. Definitely rest, right? I believe in resting, like get your sleep on.
So it's been good. I think we all agree that accountability is necessary for us to address those areas that we stated in the beginning. So what we're going to do now is wrap up the discussion and go to some parting thoughts. And we normally do ladies first, but if you don't want to go first, C Money, we'll let the professor go first.
Oh, it doesn't matter. So yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you for even the opportunity. This has been an amazing conversation that definitely we can just keep going on and on. We have to do a part 2 of something like that, right? But accountability is worth it, right? And making sure you're connected to the right people to have the right conversations at the right time and the right stages in your life. The Bible says, seek ye first. So you know what? Pray about your accountability partner, right? Yeah. Pray about it. You don't have to say yes to everything and yes to everyone. And when you sometimes ain't even saying yes to God, right? So definitely pray about your accountability partner, pray about your connections, and keep going, right? Don't give up even when it gets hard. Don't give in. You're stretching yourself. And this could be a season of stretching. This could be a season where you're like, I'm really in the valley, like I'm being hit left and right. But I love what the professor said, milestones, right? Whatever those milestones are, take time to celebrate them because we get in a habit of not celebrating them. I am guilty of it. I just keep moving and go on to the next thing, right? But keep going. And then look, right here, you have support. And be willing and ready to receive that support as well.
That's good. That's good. Professor?
Yeah, so I'm always an advocate for getting out there doing a new thing. So like I said earlier in the show, like what's the alternative? So some things we're familiar with. Go out there and get a new wrinkle in your brain. So that's why I like to use like, hey, I want to put a new wrinkle in my brain. Because those old wrinkles, they're there, you're familiar with them, you've done it before. Go out there and do something new. God's giving you a dream, a passion, a goal, or whatever the case may be. Go out there and chase it. Go out there and chase it because you never know what tomorrow may bring. And don't live with regret. So I hate to look back. Always another thing I say is like I hate to look back from heaven and think about the things I didn't chase after, the things I didn't go for. The time especially if I had the time, energy, the ability, the resources, whatever the case may be, if I just had my right mind to do it, I would hate to look back and see that. So go out there and build your own legacy, chase your dreams, your passions, with all your heart, with all your might, and go out there and do something new. So get out your comfort zone and do something new with yourself.
Hey.
Man, I'm find out you're a preacher too, man. Okay. So we got a couple more comments. I want to make sure I hit these, especially since they mentioned me. So I don't know who the Facebook user is. You're going to let us know who you are. We'll shout you out. But he said, I have not been able to catch the show. But just know, Gerard, I'm still one of your biggest fans.
They like bad jokes.
They do.
The no hate zone right here. Shalonda Goodwater, she's a lifelong friend. I served with her in the military. Appreciate you always tuning in. They're from Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. She's at Great Nuggets to part with, as always. Thank you. And here's another one. Gerard Ware. At one point in my life, you were my connection accountability partner, because without you, I would have made a fool out of myself. Hey, I think that's a lot of our story. I know that's mine.
Who you paying?
Sharon.
Who you paying to write all these comments?
And it's me typing my own comments. No, it's not. I don't know who it is. So, oh, okay, that's my good buddy Denisha. Appreciate the words right there. And y'all are funny, man. Great stuff. Thank you guys for being so transparent. So first, I want to before we close out as well, I want to let C Money tell us what she's doing and where you can find her on social media and what you got coming up.
Ooh, okay, so if you start typing in all the letters of the alphabet, Carlika Bass Knight Menendez, I'm going to pop up. You can follow me on any social media platform. It's me. I'm going to accept. But what do we have coming up? So we're getting ready to plan another Menopause in Mimosa, New Mexico. We have our 2 books that will be coming out in the summer. The Big M, which is practical tips for navigating through menopause. And then we have our Women Who Pray 2nd edition that will be coming out. Women who we're together and compiling a book of prayers. The first one was amazing. And so we're excited about the second one, Health and Wealth. And you know what? Whatever. I'm going to do something new, right? I'm going to do something new. And so, yeah, follow me on social media, connect. I love connecting with people. And if you have questions or anything, I will definitely, you can inbox me and I will answer them.
That's dope. That's dope. So, Professor, what you got going on, brother?
Yeah, man, I'm still promoting the book. So if you haven't bought your copy, go out there and buy it today. So I would prefer that you buy it from my from the links in my Instagram, my Facebook account. I will sign it for you, write you a personal message, and get it shipped out to you. But yeah, I'm still promoting this book. It's just I'm celebrating the first month of being in production. So looking forward to that. But other than that, my first children's book has been published. So it's not for sale yet, but it's published. The second one is on the way. So hopefully in the next 2 weeks, they'll both be available for sale. But getting to the children's thing, gotten some reviews, some pretty good reviews on the first book. Looking forward to getting more reviews, but hopefully getting good reviews on the second book as well. But continue writing books. Right now I'm in the process of writing a book for teenagers and what success and what life looks like for them and what they should be considering as they go into young people. And like you still talked on the show, the whole bodybuilding and competition thing. So, but more to follow.
Hey, so real good, show us that book again, man, and tell us the name of it because we can see it.
Yeah.
21 Years, a collection of poems on leadership. There it is right there.
Yeah. So there's something about it. I've read the book now in its entirety, man. It's good. I like it. So if you like poetry, I'm sure you'll be partial to it. But I just like the creativity and understanding the challenge of communicating your message in an effective way, but having to rhyme with it. That's no easy feat. So, man, hats off to you, man, for the hard work that you.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Professor, what's your name? Your Instagram handle?
Recreating was it _ Vincent recreating _ V Watson.
So how about this? We'll let y'all both in the comments of the show, if y'all don't mind putting your contact information so that people can easily find you.
Man, I'll not do no comment.
Hey man, the professor don't hold the producer don't hold weight on this show, boy.
What'd you say?
Be talking back, man.
Well, that's what you said, dude.
He said he ain't put no comments.
He said he
don't know how to put a comment.
Don't know how.
Well, how you write a book? You don't know. Go read that book and save your money.
Okay, you better come back with that one. You better come back.
Y'all really pretty good at this, man. But you know,
that was a good one. That was a good one, Gerard.
That one. I give him that one.
Hey, and one more thing, C Money. We talked about you coming to Texas. So be ready, y'all. There's more information to follow. We're gonna make that happen. So we bring you to Texas if you'll commit to that.
I'm doing something new. I'm committed. Okay. Y'all heard it first, all right? And the way God is a man of his word, I'm a woman of my word.
So, hey, we appreciate everybody tuning in. You know the deal. Like, share, subscribe. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, IG. We're on LinkedIn. And what else? TikTok too. So, hey, go out and search your favorite social media platform and look for us on there. And as Miss Cookie would always say, tell your mom and them, tell your dad and them, and tell your haters, because them the ones that follow you the most. I like it. Okay, there we go. So again, go to the comments and you'll see information how you can follow everybody. But until then, they also say we're coming back with a part 2. So keep looking for information about the next show and follow all things The Floor Is Yours podcast. We appreciate you.
Now it's my turn to tell y'all about my big bro Gerard and the podcast crew. From TJ the realist, Miss Cookie the professor, and you can't forget about the inspiration shit. They talk about it all, got advice for us all. You'll never know how deep the talks will go. On the weekdays, the weekends, they be going live with the topics. Then they do the segment where the floor is yours. You can post your comments, you can post your statements, yeah. You can ask your questions, They can help you get your life moving in the right direction. If you need advice on marriage, advice on finance, advice on healing, advice on credit, this the podcast that you need to check out. Go ahead and tune in, you'll feel what I'm talking about.
Baby, I'ma get the floor is yours. Yeah, baby, I mean the floor is yours. Baby, come down to the floor is yours. Let me show you how blue the floor is yours. Hey, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. Na 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 na. The floor is yours. Na 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 na. The floor is yours.
Man, how does that song is? You talking about changing it out?
Man, I ain't heard not one song.
Hey, man, that's your connection, man. Hey, appreciate everybody. Next time.